This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, good evening, Rabbi. So we're learning Sefer Shaarei Teshuva. We're in the Shaar Shiur. So Rabbi Yonah pointed out that even though, of course, we know according to the Rambam, there are 4 ingredients of Teshuva, according to some there are 3 ingredients of Teshuva, but nevertheless, Rabbi Yonah's opinion is that there are actually 20 ingredients of Teshuva. Rabbi Yonah explained that really, to get an Avera off, all you need to do is a basic Teshuva. But to really cleanse the neshama completely, so then you need more ingredients. Rabbi Yonah says the analogy is to laundry. Now when a person does laundry, you could just throw it in the washing machine. Basically, the chunk's going to come off, but if you want the shirt to be white like the day you bought it, then you need more detergent and more bleach, right? So now Rabbi Yonah begins the first of the 20 ingredients, and the Ikar number 1, Ikar Harishain HaCharata. The first principle is regret. And pay attention carefully to the words, because one of the Ikarim coming up is something called Yagain. And what exactly the difference between Charata and Yagain is, so you have to see what exactly Rabbi Yonah defines Charata. Says Rabbi Yonah, Yavin Levavai, your heart should understand Kira Vamar Ozvayas Hashem, that the fact that you've sinned and left Hashem is bad and bitter. In other words, it didn't do you any good. It didn't do you any good. V'yashiv el libay, think the following. Ki yesh oynesh, there will be punishment. Even though right now, it's on page 12 here, V'yomer ois yod, v'yomer bavo, you should say to yourself, right, ki yesh oynesh, there is punishment. There's punishment. In other words, you think you speak Lashon Hara, in the last 3 days nothing happened to me. It's going to come. It's going to come. There will be punishment. The nakam. There will be revenge. There will be retribution. The shilem. There will be payback. Al ha'avain. In other words, you have to think to yourself, what you did was bad, and it was dumb, because you're going to pay for it. Ke'enyan shenemar, like the pasuk says, linakam v'shilem. The Rebbeinu Shem could take revenge. V'nemar guru lachem ibnei cherev. Be afraid because of the sword. Kichema avonos charev. The sins that bring the sword could bring God's wrath. In other words, the first part, Charata, is the most basic feeling. The most basic feeling is, what I did was dumb. Why was it dumb? Because I'm going to have to pay a lot more than I gained. Hefsid avera keneged schara. V'yischareit al masav haraim. You should regret your bad actions. V'yomer b'vava. You should say in your heart, Me'al sisi. What have I done? What did I do? Eich lo hayapached elokim leneged einai. How did I not fear Hashem when I was about to speak the Lashon Hara? What was I thinking? Didn't I know something bad could happen to me? I could chas v'sham myself, family, money, etc. Why wasn't I afraid?
That always presumes that before you do an Avera, you know that you mustn't do that Avera. But the point is, when you get to it, especially when you're already beyond that.
We're talking, right? We're presuming we're talking to people. They know what's right and wrong. They know what they're now to do, but they rationalize. But after the fact, they should say to themselves what they did was dumb. How could I have said? Didn't I know? Didn't I know Hashem could punish me? I wasn't afraid. For the punishment for sin, for the retribution for sin. God has many avenues to bring machayev, to bring pain. In other words, charata really is the most basic feeling, the most elementary feeling. You don't have to be a big tzaddik. It's just a feeling of, what I did was dumb. What I did was harmful to myself. Loi chamalti al gufi. I didn't have mercy on my own body. Didn't I know I could get a massive headache just because I did one avera or something really? V'loi chasa eini alav mishachoisai. I didn't have pity on myself mishachoisai, from destroying myself for one split second of ana, something I wanted to eat, look at, do. So for one split second of ana, I'm jeopardizing myself. V'nimshalti, you know what I'm like? This is all what a person should say to himself. This is all the feeling and the thoughts a person should have. If you would have thought this before the fact, you wouldn't be learning Shaarei Teshuva. You'd be learning a different sefer. This is right. V'nimshalti leish, you know what I'm like? I'm like a man. Sheyigza, that steals. V'yachmos, he robs. V'yoichal, he goes into the lamarei. He breaks in. He has steak. He has wine. V'yoichal v'yizba, and he knows he's on videotape. He knows the second he breaks through the glass, the police are on their way. But in the meantime, he's sitting there. He's dining. He's dining fine, right? V'yoichal v'yizba. V'yadeh, he knows ki acharei ochalei, after he eats, v'acharei shasei, and after he drinks, yagreis hashofet b'chatzat shiram. The judge is going to break his teeth. So we're not talking about a guy who doesn't know. I'm like a guy who knows exactly what's going to happen. He robs the store. He knows he's on video. He knows as soon as the glass smashes, the message goes to the police. He hears the sirens coming. In the meantime, he's licking his chops. That's what a person's like. When a person does an avera, a person should think, what I did was so foolish. I knew I was going to get punished. I knew I could get punished. Like the pasuk says, Shenemar, Arev la'ish, it is sweet to a man. Lechem shaker, false bread. V'yachar yimal piu chatzatz. And afterwards, the judge fills his mouth with gravel. So that's the first thing. The first thing is you say to yourself, what I did was dumb. Didn't I know I could get punished? Now, this guy was not punished yet. He wasn't punished yet. But he knows he could be punished. So he should say to himself, look what I did. It was so foolish. V'ramizois, even worse. Even worse. Now, the first step of Charata, according to Rabbi Yana, is to think, this was so dumb. Didn't I, a person doesn't matter, didn't I know? I don't want to go to the doctor. Person knows. Person says, I don't want to have to go to the dentist. I don't need that. I don't want to have to go to the mechanic. So a person said, why did I do the avera? It was worth it. It was worth jeopardizing myself, my finances. V'ramizos. Now, the fact that a person knows that they could get punished in this world, that's a halbatzara. But what about olam haba? V'ramizos, even worse. Ki hayisi al hanefesh hayikara achzari. I'm being cruel to my soul. I'm being cruel to my soul. V'nitma'a begilulei yitzri. I'm defiling, I'm sullying, I'm dirtying, I'm making my soul filthy. What have I accomplished and I'm just angering Hashem? In other words, it's worth to speak Lashon Hara. Is it worth? Imagine if you knew that if you speak one word of Lashon Hara, someone's going to throw you into an oven on 450. Right? When you first move in, you got a kasher, you turn up the oven up to 450. You put. Imagine if a person knew that if he speaks a word of Lashon Hara, someone's going to throw him into an oven for 2 minutes. So after he speaks the Lashon Hara, he's going to be thinking to himself, I can't believe what I just did. It was worth speaking Lashon Hara, now I have to go into an oven. So that's Charata. Charata is, it was worth saying that thing to my friend, to my neighbor, to my spouse. It was worth it. Is it going to be worth it? It's not going to be worth it.
It wasn't worth it.
It wasn't worth it. But at least, again, we're talking after the fact.
Exactly.
You have to say to yourself, what I did was dumb, it was foolish, it wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth it. You should have said before, it is not worth it. That's what you should have done. And then, says Rabbi Yana, another thought that someone who is having Charata should have, we'll just read a couple more lines. Person should say to themselves, look, let's make a simple business decision. If I eat this food, or if I say this word, it'll make me feel good for 2 minutes. But how much less olam haba am I going to have? I'm going to have some less olam haba. For how long? Forever. Forever. Olam haba is a very long time. So is it worth it? Is it worth a 2-minute instant hana for an eternal sacrifice? It's not a good business decision. How could I exchange a transient world for an eternal world? I'm gonna get. What did I gain? I gained a little olam hazeh. What did I give up? I gave up eternity. He says, "Eich nimshalti." You know what I'm like? I'm like a behema. Like a behema. A behema doesn't think about olam haba. Behema just wants what's arev l'shaitai. Right now, the grass is good. I'll take it. Imagine there's a sign by the grass. Eat grass now, but there's cyanide in it. What does a cow know? It's good, tastes good now. That's what a person's like that doesn't have error. They don't think about olam haba. They're like a behema. I went after my Yitzhahara, kesus, like a horse, kefered, like a mule, ein havin, without thinking, v'ta'isi midarach haskel. I strayed off the straight and narrow. Okay, so this is all feelings of charata. Now, until now, all of these ideas and all these thoughts were nagea the guf. In other words, I didn't have rachmanis on my body. I exchanged. I'm going to have pain in olam haba. But then Rabbi Yonah is going to add, maybe we'll see that next time, maybe tomorrow night, another element, another dimension of the first ingredient of tshuva, the ingredient of charata. Okay?
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.